Today's episode is a very special one. I had thought about some of the people who I wanted to have on my show, some of the dream guests I would love to have. This gentleman right here is one of the top 5 of my special guests. So, without further ado, I want to say welcome to the co-producer of the Orville, Tom Costantino.
Costantino.
See, we've been playing around, ladies and gentlemen. I've been trying to get it right. I've been trying to get it right. Costantino.
You know what? It's funny. I usually have Costantino. It's so interesting. I'm used to it. As long as it's not on the tax document, it's a tongue twister. And I would like to think I'm at the bottom of that 5. Please, I have some people I'd rather you meet.
Actually, you come in at number 3. You come in at number
okay,
3.
that's fine.
Seth would be number 1. Seth has to be number 1.
Of course, I hope so.
Yeah. For you to be on here, it speaks in volumes. I'm so honored to have you on here.
I'm honored to be on.
I've been following you quite some time through Twitter, social media, and you always have something positive to say to the fans. And the fact that you guys do an incredible show, it's inspiration to me and the cast and crew to put something together and to really make it happen. I want to know more about you. The audience wants to know about you.
Sure.
Can you tell the audience about your history within the world of production and everything else?
Oh, I think I've said some of this before, so I don't want to bore people, but I started actually started in high school doing tech crew for theaters and musicals and off Broadway, and I always wanted to work with my hands, so someone suggested film school. I mean, I used to make little videos with G.I. Joes and my sister's Cabbage Patch dolls, and used to make like little space movies and stuff. I used to build the cockpits out of foam core and Christmas lights, and sometimes I'd even take a TV monitor with a VHS and play I'd do like a little graphic in the middle or something, and like splice in, I always say Moonraker, but I would splice in some other movies too. But I've been doing, I kind of always wanted to do this. And then I grew up in New York, so I worked in unscripted and worked in news for years, of CBS News 48 Hours actually, and moved out to California and got my big break on CSI Miami, and the rest is kind of history.
What has been like one of your main challenges as a producer or editor? How's it what is mainly a challenge for you? Like one of the main challenges?
I think the main challenge that will always be is time and money. I think you can kind of do anything. I find that money, time is harder than money, because you can always throw money at the problem, but if you don't have time, so it's like manufacturing that to get stuff done, and usually requires a lot of late hours. Also like if sometimes, the scripts are the first phase of writing, the production is the second phase, and when it gets in the room, then you actually have to make the story. So having to figure your way out of some dark narrative holes and stuff, that's always been the challenge. That's universal through every job, every genre I've ever worked on. But as the Orville, and believe me, we've gotten even bigger. It's, we're always fighting the clock, and even with the increased budget and stuff, money burns when you want pretty spaceships. When you're gonna make up the entire universe, money goes fast.
If you had an unlimited budget, what would you want to do, and would you push for a movie?
Would I push for a movie? It's funny. I think a movie would be fun. I think we would be able to do it for less money than it, because we've gotten efficient. I can't take credit for it. I'm only a small fraction, but I know our VFX department, and I think we could make a really, really good movie. But I would be happy with another season. That is expansive. I think we're always trying to top each other. I think Seth is trying to top it. He's always trying to give the fans something new. So I almost worry that unlimited money is that trap, because now you have no storytelling, bounds or confinements on you. probably we'd have an even larger battles than some of the ones we're planning. We'd probably do like a really, really whiz bang, interplanetary, giant extravaganza that you can't even do, even with the money we have. Probably that would be fun.
Well, then let me ask you this: so do you think it's more pressure for TV than on film to put together something like this, or like episode?
I think the lines are blurring. I think TV is getting more like film every day. But if you think about it, you're still producing, and that even goes for Marvel TV. You're still producing 5 times the amount of content in about what would be about 1/3 of the time, even on a lengthy schedule like us. So you are definitely trying to get the most bang for your buck, but it has expanded. I mean, our shoot days have tripled since season 1, and and that's just the nature of the way TV's going. Things being on streamers, bigger, better. I mean, movies are ending up on television. I feel the lines are blurring, except for like the biggest of tent poles. But it's still more of a challenge because you're producing more with less time.
How you've been handling with the whole COVID situation, and also with production at a standstill? How are you handling all that?
Well, I'm sitting in my backyard, so you tell me. There's no Abbott here. I'm not cutting anything right this second. We're handling as best we can. The shutdown came hard and fast. We tried to get as much material through the pipeline as we could. I mean, we didn't go through the pipeline, but at least get Seth to lock it. We need to be able to get back into that magical place called Fox in a healthy and safe way so that we may continue shooting. But handle's a strong word. I mean, I feel like the world is kind of on fire. So, it feels almost trite for me to be like, I want to go back to work when I think that there's bigger issues at hand. But, as long as everybody's happy and healthy, that's all I can hope for.
Well, you're one of the few shows, in my opinion, that brings a positive sign to the world, especially with everything that's been going on. And seriously, it's a nice getaway. It's a nice way of being able to take your mind off of things. And Orville does that. I mean, not for nothing. It really makes me look forward to something, even watching in reruns and watching on Hulu and stuff. What do you think has been the biggest problem why you haven't seen the Orville on Blu-ray? I've seen it on DVD, but how is it that it hasn't been on Blu-ray? Because you would see the popularity of it,
Well, it's Fox they're not that big into Blu-rays. Every network studio does their own thing. I mean, I'd like to think we're popular, but it probably doesn't justify the amount of work that goes into it. They're very focused on streaming. I don't have a totally 100% answer, but from what I know is that's just not where their focus is. Maybe if we were in San Jose, they're putting out the Blu-ray of Picard. Some of these things are business decisions, and that's kind of how it is. Sure, we'd love a Blu-ray, but also we are going to master again in 2K, just to keep our pipeline streamed. We actually shoot in 4K, but and like Netflix does 4K, but we're probably going to do it in 2K again, just because of the enormity of the show. But you can lodge your requests.
Well, trust me, I have. Don't think I haven't. I have. As someone who's a fan, and it's funny, a lot of certain friends of mine who never heard of the show, I turned them on to the show, and they're like, "Wow, this is like it." Like some of them didn't hear about it, or some of them did, and they thought the show was going to be one way. Like I get this a lot. Oh, I thought it was going to be like Family Guy, and it's not. And they're like pleasantly surprised. Yeah. And that's one thing I want to tap into as far as the fandom. As you know, we're doing our series, A Planetary Step, and we have a passion for what we're doing because we believe in the show. How do you feel about the fandom? How do you feel about the fans and the embrace, in embracement, and it also being a positive entity within the world of sci-fi, especially in the world that basically a lot of things are toxic in a lot of areas, but in the Orville sense, it's nothing but positivity. You have more positive than you do negative. So how do you feel about that?
I feel lucky. I think there's negativity in the Orville universe too. I mean, like, fandom is fandom, and I feel very blessed. I've gotten to know a bunch of. It's hard to even call them super fans because some of them are casual fans too, and it's just but who I've met through these interactions and in San Diego and just online, and some people have actually become my good friends. I feel very blessed. I mean, I'm a fanboy myself who happened to get a job doing this. So, it's. I wish I had a bigger philosophical answer to it, but it's just. I think it helps that the show is somewhat, that it is a slightly, quasi utopian future, and does definitely go to the positive of optimistic sci-fi, and so I think that it attracts a certain sort of conversation around it. I don't, and this is not a dig at anybody else. We tend to have some progressive themes, but they're just kind of there. We don't shine a light on them, and I think that sort of helps too. It helps if people are comfortable with it, and also if people don't want it there. It's not being thrown in their face. So I think that all contributes to it. And a lot of it is Seth and his vision, and we've got some great writers. Everybody loves it. Everybody's on it's a lot of hard work. So I think everybody who's part of the show, loves it and does it. And I mean, I can go on forever. Brooke, Kit, you're following Kit Lex, right. Doug Drexler, the whole art department. I mean, there's a whole litany of people. Brandon Braga, but Brandon Fayette, our visual effects supervisor, and Brooke Noska I was talking about. Eric Hayden, who joined us from HBO. I mean, we just have Hillary, was my assistant. Now she's an editor, Bar too. Like we're just surrounded by a lot of people that love what they do. And, I'm trying to, I could go on name checking 1,000 people, but, that's part of it. So, none of us are getting paid to tweet all this stuff. We just love the show and we love interacting.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I like even putting the show together, and we talked about this earlier, having a team together is an important thing. It shows you the results of good, a good storytelling. And like I was telling you earlier, I was showing this earlier, I'm so how much of a team I have, like the props and everything, from making, 3D printed and then adding on lasers. I mean, my buddy, Aaron Lunger, who's our prop director.
Those are pretty good. And that's a Brian Rogers masterpiece, both of those.
And the fact that we were putting this together, and he was like, "Look, I can make some lasers out of this, and I can put lighting on this." And then
wait, can you put that closer to the camera? The communicator. Oh my God, are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm showing this. Yeah.
So even down to we know it's not going to be 100% perfect, but on camera you can't tell. It's the fact that we're able to.
I will not judge.
But and it's important. I mean, even my director Jason Richardson, who really we've had meetings back and forth, and he'll sit down and we're like, well, I want to make sure we get the right vision, and then you have like my buddy Jason Griffin, who did all the FX designs for the Eisenberg and all, and I've shared with you like some of the pictures and all, and when the fans see it, I know the fans are going to embrace it, and it's just something that, again, even the music composer, Adam Mullen, who put
the music was great.
Themes, and I'm just kind of like, wow, I have a great team, and we're not even begin to even talk about the cast members, and the cast members all are bringing their own element to the thing. I haven't felt that kind of excitement for a show since Next Generation, and it was funny. Flattered. It was funny because recently we just my buddies at the Seventh Rule, Ryan Husk, Sirach Lofton. The whole reason why I named the Eisenberg was after my friend Aaron Eisenberg, who passed away. He was a good friend of mine, and I wanted to show tribute to him.
Is that why you did that? I didn't. I was wondering if that was the connection.
Yeah, it was. It was a major tribute to him. And he was a great friend. He was a good friend, and
that's wow.
And so, and it was funny because they decided to have Orville panel.
It's actually funny because probably we could have gathered a real panel together. I mean, like, when I mean by real, I mean like a crew panel if they wanted to. Only because none of us are working right now.
But you know what I found cool about it was, from the outside looking in, for you to see the reactions of the people, the fans, even though you had some of the actors that might have been, you know, in the episode or two, but to see the fandom, for people that some people that didn't know about it, some people that did know about it, people like us talking about it, that has to be a good feeling for you when they're talking about something you guys put together.
I'm so bored of me. I'd rather have you people talk. I'm exhausted by me.
well, we're not exhausted with you, and the fact that you're engaging with the fans on Twitter is very inspirational, because again, it's something that we need, and regardless of what you may think, it really, you're always, you know, and I've heard you talk about this before, you can't please everyone, and even though you're going to have people say, well, see, the quantum drive was in it, and you're like, wait a second, I made this show. What are you talking about?
I actually love that, honestly. And when I said, because JP asked me something similar, the other person I decided to come out of retirement for. But yeah, no, I love lurking Reddit and the shit posts and people. I love when people catch us with stuff secretly. And I mean, let me put it this way: people talking about it is way better than people not talking about it.
True.
And sometimes those ideas are turned into, you know, are heard. Not ideas, but like, you know, things can be course corrected sometimes, you know, when fans say it in a way that's like constructive.
Over, like, basically surfacing without getting deep into it. What can you tell the audience as far as, you know, looking forward to season 3 without revealing anything, as far as what we can look forward to for season 3?
Well, I'm looking forward to completing it.
That's a good one.
You know, it's funny because it's hard to say. I've said sort of the things, but everything that you love about the show will continue in season 3. There will be stories and narratives you're not expecting that will continue. There are new narratives that will continue. It's, you know, it's still episodic in some ways, but you know, there's a history now of over 26 episodes, and that history will not be forgotten. And I think you can watch season 3 without probably seeing the other 2 seasons, but you will be richly rewarded. You know, there'll definitely be some like good old fashioned, like, you know, classic throwback sci-fi of planet visiting type stuff and fun. But, you know, like I said, narrative threads will not get dropped, and we have cooked up some bigger stuff. You know, well, the wait will be worth it.
Well, if it's anything like season 2, it just like, and you know, I know you heard this before. It gets better and better because, like, I don't know if you saw my reaction when we did the panel when everything went down with the K-line, the 2-part K-line. I was screaming at the top of my lungs like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, what? And I didn't have to wait 6 months for a season finale or anything. I'm like, wait, it's coming up back on next week. No.
We knew that. There was that. And then we knew that the last episode of the season was going to blow, like, people were going to freak the heck out. I mean, you know, it ended up me and Brooke standing in the snow with Gary and a bunch of, like, you know, trying to film the open at, you know, in like late December in -10 weather. But no, it's yeah. There'll be more of that.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. We are looking forward to that.
And quieter moments too. I don't want to feel like it's all just like going to be like space porn, and you know, we're going to forget what we are.
Well, no, I think you guys hit a lot of things on the mark. I mean, that's what makes the show so good, so compelling, because it touches on the human conditioning, and it's things that you never thought that you would see on a series or a network series again. You guys are bringing that back. And it's
also, by the way, I was going to say, it's also a lot of the, you know, I don't give the writers enough credit, but, you know, obviously Seth writes a lot, but David, Brannon, Cherry, God, I'm going to miss people now. David, Brannon, Cherry, oh my God. There's so, basically what I'm trying to say, it's the usual crew, you know, who love the show, love sci-fi, and have had a long history in it. So, you know, they're there to protect they're there to protect the vision too, and a lot of it just comes from Seth's mind. So, they deserve some credit for keeping the continuity and keeping the universe going as well. And it's it's a very intimate process. So, kudos to them for giving us stuff that's fun to shoot. Sorry, go ahead. I'm going to cut you off.
But I find it also great, for Seth and all of them to put this together, and in a way, because again, Seth, when he did Family Guy, he would always do things and nod things that we grew up on and stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I was always taking him with. And then him being also a Star Trek alum himself, being on Enterprise, and then to be able to have a lot of the Star Trek alum show up on the Orville, it really to me it was like, wow, having Frakes direct a couple episodes and all. And
I got to cut both of those. I love Jonathan.
It was great. Matter of fact, my friend Sean, he played as one of the Mocklins on Sean T. Andrews. He played as he
wasn't he? He was one of the two smugglers, wasn't he?
Yes. And it was funny because he talked about his experience, and he was like blown away. He was like, wait a second, that's Maria Sirtis. Wait a second, Jennifer Frakes is directing the episode. So he talked about how great it was to be on set, how it was just like a family environment. It was just a really great experience. And to me, I was just like, wow, how many people can say that they've been on set and they've worked with all these great people? So the fact that Seth was able to marry those kind of, like, paying homage to Next Generation and a lot of other sci-fi shows, and then have it on this series and given a lot of nods, it really brings out the show and the great quality of the show itself,
Yeah.
So
it's all because of the boss. I'm not, he's a dynamo.
Yeah. What is some of the best advice you can give to people like myself who want to do Orville fan films or just any other project itself, producing or directing or editing? What advice would you give them?
What advice? Wow, God, I'm trying to do something new. I would say a good note can come from anywhere. I think be strong in your convictions about your creative vision, but also be willing to listen. Know that you've hired or corralled good people, and be willing to listen to their ideas. I think that's a very strong way to manage. I think you have to, make sure you're a bit of a masochist, because there's not really a solve for these long hours and this, kind of work it takes to get things to this level. And, just try and remember that if you are doing this kind of stuff, fan film for real and stuff, it's a blessed job, and you're, there's less funds to make a living and less ways to be creative. So I think that's probably what I would say. Just have fun where you can. Life's short.
Yeah, agreed. So Tom, I want to thank you for coming on, hoping that we can bring you back onto the show again. Sure. Maybe you can bring Brooke with you or anybody else.
Oh yeah, I would love it. I mean, Brooke is the best. Brooke is Emmy nominated VFX producer. Yeah, she's a dynamo. I mean, the reason the show looks so good is thanks to her, and obviously Brandon too. But that's a magical department, the VFX department.
Well,
we work really closely with them.
I'm thinking about having some of the production cast crew with you, some of your crew, and we do like a 6-way interview thing with all of us, or mixing it up and all, and talking about our love for this.
I think definitely when we get ourselves back together shooting whatever century that is, I think that's something people would do.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you like this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. And remember, every step you take is a planetary one. We'll see you next week with a new episode.